I'm going to walk people through day 1 through 10. Today's day 10, and there's different symptoms that occurred. It's called bone break fever, and I should have realized the bone break sensation, the pain of that I experienced during the fever. But I'm going to walk everybody through day 1 through 10 of my experience, and then talk about the prognosis as well. So stay tuned for that.
Welcome back to another episode of Fly Me to the Philippines. Rob, it's been a while since we didn't make video. What happened?
Well, I've been down for the count. Today is day 10 of dengue fever. And yeah.
How do you feel right now?
I feel weak. I still have a headache that comes and goes. I'm not sure if it's from lack of caffeine or just still a remnant. Yeah, but I'm going to survive, it seems, with your help.
Well, I hope you will survive. But, you know, it's very interesting because we don't really share about our health condition here in the Philippines, our personal health condition, because we rarely seem to be sick here. But this time it's serious. It's not just fever or normal back pain or something, but it's dengue.
Yeah, people die from dengue.
A lot of people in the Philippines died from dengue.
I think our taxi driver's brother died, and we've had clients who've had siblings of the girls they're dating that have died while they were dating them.
Yeah.
It's a problem. And going forward, it's going to be a little bit of a problem for me, and I'll explain that to you. We just published our book, A Modern Man's Guide to Living, Traveling, and Finding Love in the Philippines, and we're always encouraging people to come to this tropical paradise. But it is a tropical paradise, and we are here in Asia, and they do have mosquito-borne illnesses. And sure enough, I'm here today to tell people my story, to be careful. While it is paradise, there are some risks and dangers, and sure enough, one came our way, and we're going to tell them about it now. Chrissy, last time one of us was sick, it was you. Here's a picture. We were launching our YouTube channel, and we were 3 weeks, 21 days into trying to monetize our channel. And you came down with...
I forgot the name. It's
mononucleosis.
Mononucleosis.
And after 5 days of delirium, you asked me if you were going to live.
Yeah, you know, that was a time in my life that I really appreciate to have somebody, a partner that will take care of you, because I told you before that I once married, but we are not a couple like what normal couple have experience, because we don't live together. We have different jobs, and we only get together for like 10 days. That time when I was with you, I felt like I have a personal nurse, and I was so thankful about that.
Wait a minute. I want to say I felt... This is the first time where I felt like I had a Filipina nurse, and so many men are planning ahead for when they're going to need a nurse, and they think Filipinas are the best nurses on the planet. But it was an interesting experience for me to have you nursing me. So far, I'm alive, I'm well. I think I'm going to come through it.
Yeah. So, at first, when you felt the symptoms, you thought that it's the pneumonia again that you felt before in the Philippines.
Right. So I'm 68. I don't have any medical conditions. I don't take any medicines. I'm fully insured, but you know, I carry my Medicare Part B, and I carry a full high-end supplemental in America. Plus, I have a peso plan here, so I'm totally covered. But I don't have any known ailments, and so the first hint of something being wrong, I got weak, especially in my shoulders. Like my shoulders, it was weird. I've never really had aching in both shoulders. And but previously, you mentioned I had a type of bacteria. I had bacterial pneumonia when we first met, almost 2 years ago exactly. I came to Makati, and we had this burn the candle at both end experience, and then we came to Cagayan de Oro, and I stayed in a Airbnb that had been full pesticide treatment, and the air conditioner was rotten, and I ended up coming down with bacterial pneumonia, but we didn't realize it at first. But I had back pain, but it was a different type of back pain. So we went through once an experience where I had bacterial pneumonia, and apparently a lot of expats get it when they first arrive. I found on Philippine expats, one of the expat forums, a posting where a lot of guys got bacterial pneumonia their first month in the Philippines. And I've warned people about that before. So this time, Chrissy, I had in my shoulders for a day or two ahead of time, this weakness and achiness in my shoulders. And we filmed a video a couple back, and I remember in the editing suite looking at myself, and I thought, man, I look horrible. I'm kind of pasty, and I didn't.
You were sick that time.
I wasn't quite sick yet, but I had the achiness in the shoulders, and I didn't like the way I looked on video, and I had a little bit of a headache. And we play cards every Monday, and I remember right smack in the middle of the card game, I got up to take like an Advil because I just had this really bad headache, and it started the next day. I started to get feverish. That was day one.
Yeah, that was on the second day you started to have fever, which normally will occur on the afternoon, right? You remember that in the, from morning to let's say 3 p.m. you'll be fine. You don't have fever, but from maybe 4 or 5 p.m. up to nighttime, you will feel cold and feverish.
Yeah, so one of the things that if you do have dengue, that you don't know if you don't have dengue is you're not supposed to take Advil or ibuprofen because there's a risk of bleeding gums and internal bleeding. And, I'm going to tell you a little bit more at the end about hemorrhagic fever, which is something that is a big risk after you've had dengue once, when you have it a second time. So I started taking Advil, which I shouldn't have because I had no idea. I thought I had bacterial pneumonia.
Because the first symptom you felt is the back pain, shoulder pain.
And I had a little bit of a little congestion in the throat. So that's what I thought it was. We had some amoxicillin left over in the house, and I started a antibiotic course for bacterial pneumonia, and I was pretty convinced that's what it was. And I had fever and headache, and I pretty much was in bed day 2 and day 3. So usually antibiotics will kick in around day 3, 72 hours. And sure enough, right around 72 hours, the fever broke. Now, the one thing that is really interesting is my niece got married and to a doctor, and they went to Polynesia, and she got dengue 12, 13 years ago. And she had told me about this experience, and she described, and dengue is known as bone break fever is what dengue is called. And she described this horrific, most painful experience for, she was sick almost a month, she said, but for a week or two in bed with like her bones feeling like they were breaking. And so I have like achy hips normally when I sleep or if I watch TV on the couch. I'm always shifting from one hip to the other hip because they'll start to ache after a while. And I had that when I was having this fever. And I just didn't realize that, and it occurred to me that, maybe this is like a little extra bone ache going on. But she had told me about this bone break and how I've read about it. After she told me, I'd read about it, I'd heard about it from other people, and they describe it as just this horrible pain that you go through when you're in the fever. And it reminded me of my achy hips normally, and my fingers were kind of swollen a little bit. But it did occur to me that it could be dengue because I was a little, my bones were achier than normal. But it didn't strike me that it was that exceptional. So in some ways, I'm kind of lucky because maybe the pain didn't. Some people describe it as one of the most horrible things they've ever been through. And it wasn't pleasant. The fever was more bothersome. And so 72 hours, the fever broke. And I thought, okay, it's, the antibiotics kicking in. And I'm taking a fair amount of Advil. I was switching off between paracetamol or Tylenol and Advil.
Yeah, which is you're not supposed to do.
Yeah, if you knew you had dengue, you take no Advil whatsoever. So then on day 4, the fever broke, but the headache remained, and it would kind of come and go, and I wasn't really in the clear. I was definitely sick. The thing that was extraordinary was I was so weak. My calf muscles, I went up the stairs, I was, oh my God, my legs are so weak, and my calves in particular. I'd never experienced that where I was feeling so muscle weak, and I was so weary, and I was, in bed. I really didn't get out of bed on day 4, and I figured, okay, sometimes you're, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I thought I was kind of entering this phase where the antibiotics were working, but, you'd have a good day and then a bad day. And on day 4, it was more of a headache and muscle weariness, right? You remember how I was telling you I could barely walk?
Yeah, I think when I was observing you, when you told me that you had that pneumonia again, I was waiting for you to cough, because the last time you had pneumonia, you were coughing after like 3 days of fever and cold and everything. But then when I observed that sometimes your fever will come back, not in a long time, but will come back sometimes when in bed. You will feel cold sometimes, but you didn't have cough. So I was thinking it could be something else. So I was like, in my mind, I don't want to tell it because I don't want to make you feel scared of something that you might have. But I was thinking I should wait if you will have rashes. That's why sometimes I will look at your hands and your body, and I'm going to ask you, do you have any rashes or something? It didn't come out for like 5 days.
Yeah, not till day 7, actually.
Oh.
But initially, one of the things when I had bacterial pneumonia, the first time I got what's called the rigors. I got the shakes. So when I first got the fever, my hands were white, my feet were white. I was so cold. I didn't get the rigors again like I did the first time I came to the Philippines, but I was worried about it because that was a terrible experience. I shook so bad, you get muscle pains and things. So I was cold and hot and cold and hot, and for about the first 36 hours, I was freezing sometimes when I had that fever. But then, so day 5, day 4, we thought, okay, the antibiotics kicking in. I'm still weak. I was practicing walking around, getting my muscles used again. We took the truck with the stick shift and everything, and we left at 6:30 a.m. and we went to go get it emissions tested. And we drove an hour in bumper to bumper traffic, and we sat in this room with 100 people, and it's waiting in line in the Philippines, and it took us 3.5 hours, and we got the truck emissions tested, and we went to a notary public, and we got the bill of sale notarized, and then we had to get 5 copies and find a place. Oh my God. So I made it. I thought still I was on the mend, but I was weak, and I got back home on day 5, and I went back to bed, and I slept most of the day. And then day 6, I thought, okay, I'm still headachy. The fever was gone, the weakness was there, but I'm headachy. I'm really headachy, and I'm not wanting to go anywhere or do anything. And it was our card game. And our friend was borrowing our house to host. It was his turn to host, and the card game was here on the patio. And I skipped the first game, and I told the guys I'm getting over bacterial pneumonia, and I just wasn't myself. I was weak, but I made it through, and it wasn't terrible or anything like that. But I went to bed at 7 p.m. As the guys left at 6:45, boom, I was right to bed. Yeah. And you're starting to tell me that maybe I have dengue. And I'm thinking, nah, no way. And one of the symptoms of dengue that is really unique is you get itchy skin and rashes. And you were like checking for rashes. And I didn't see the rashes, but I woke up the next day, day 7.
Rashes.
Yeah. So, and my skin was like really itchy, like crawling, itchy all over. It's still itching right now, actually. And so that was day 7. And when we really researched it, it was like a big symptom of dengue. From day 7 to day 10, you get itchy skin, rashes. Sometimes your skin can peel even. I had itchy skin, okay? So there was something still going on, and I had a really bad headache still. So Chrissy, and her father were looking at my skin, and they were seeing rashes. I wasn't seeing them, but boy, my skin was itchy. And that day, we were pretty sure that I had dengue. That night, night number 7, and today's day 10, it was the worst, because I couldn't get comfortable. I just couldn't get to sleep. The itchiness of my skin, it was like my skin was crawling, like there were like something crawling in.
Lice crawling.
Yeah, almost. But it was like I could get my eyes closed for 10 seconds, and then I'd have to shift and turn. And I was up all night until about 4 a.m. And I wasn't getting good night's sleep the night before either, but around 4 a.m. it started to subside just a little bit. So instead of like 100% of this itchy, maybe 60 or 40%. And I was able to get an hour or 2 of sleep. And then that was Friday morning. and Joseph came to take you to get the car registered. And thank God we had somebody to do that for us, because that ordeal. Tell us about trying to get the car registered.
Well, actually, it was, the waiting is worse. I mean, the moving from place to place, because the offices are very far from each other, and the heat of the sun yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Yes.
Yesterday, it was just so cruel. I think the processing of the paper is bearable for us Filipinos because we're very patient about waiting and processing papers. It's just the heat, the finding of car parking, moving from one place to another place. It's very terrible. And I think it was different for the processing that I had because we have to change it under my name. So it's kind of like the processing of normal registration, renewal of registration was became twice complicated.
So you were gone 6 hours in the heat. You never got it done. You got to go back Friday morning because you had to go to the highway patrol, and they had to get the block number, the engine number, make sure the car wasn't stolen. Oh my God. Yeah. So at that point, I had
to leave you.
You had to leave me. And at that point, I was like, okay, I'm going to go get tested. And I ran out to St. Francis nearby, and they did a blood test, and they confirmed that I have dengue. And so, and my skin, it continues to itch, but not as severe. So all day yesterday and yesterday evening, I've got this itchy skin, but it's like 20% as bad as it was the first day. And I was able to sleep last night. Now, one thing that I had a really bad headache yesterday, and I thought maybe it's from having no coffee. And so I drank a cup of coffee yesterday, and that took away the headache, actually.
So what's the medical advice for having dengue?
This is really challenging. Stay hydrated, take absolutely no ibuprofen, only paracetamol, rest, and hydrate. That's it. And, I didn't need IV fluids or anything like that. There's no medicine for you. And the problem is you're at pretty significant risk if you get dengue again. Essentially, there's 4 types of dengue. And initially you get one. And when you get bit by that mosquito, it's carrying one of 4 strains of dengue. You are forever immune from that one. So 25% of all mosquitoes, if they bite me, I will not get dengue. However, you are at elevated risk if you get bitten by a mosquito carrying one of the other 3 types of dengue, because what happens is you'll get bitten by, let's say I got bit by number 1, you get bit by 2, 3, or 4, and then your body will react the exact same way day 1 through 4. You'll get the high fever, the chills, and your body will fight off. On day 4, 5, and 6, it's really dangerous because the immune system, your body can't tell the difference between the one you had previously and the new one. And so the immunity and the defenses that you carry will rush to the forefront and start doing a lot of stuff to help you, but it's actually going to hurt you, and you run the chance of getting a hemorrhagic fever. And it's on day 4, 5, 6 that it's critical that you are hydrated. You might need IV fluids. You might need to be in the hospital because compared to a person who's never had dengue, that's a reaction that wouldn't normally happen. You would just go through it the first time. But the second time, you could really have a bad hemorrhagic fever. Your body, your immune system will work against you because it's confused. So, going forward, it's probably more important that I wear DEET in the environment.
So based on what I heard about from the people I've known that had dengue before, when you have dengue, it will attack your platelets and your hemoglobin in your blood. It will kind of like make it low. So it is very important for you to address those problems, and you need to keep your platelets and your hemoglobin high when you had dengue. So here in the Philippines, we really into herbals, So sometimes when we were sick, we just gonna find some herbs, medical herbs outside the house, and we're gonna take it, boil it or something, make it a juice, and we're gonna take it. So I suggested to Rob to take the papaya leaves juice. So normally we just gonna we use mortar and pestle and make it and pestle, and then we're gonna make juice out of it. But since we have blender, I made Popsy blend it and take juice from it. And then I was surprised Rob took it.
It was nasty, but I was itchy. I was so itchy. That was day 7 or 8, and we put honey in it to take. But the third time you gave it to me, you just gave it to me without the honey, and it was so horrible.
Because it's supposed to be just raw, nothing into it. So yeah, so we believe that can help to make your platelets and steady.
And I researched it, and the papaya leaf juice actually has some scientific validity.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the prognosis is that I'm going to have to be extra careful about mosquito bites.
Stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated. It could take 2 to 4 weeks additional to get my full strength back. You know, Chrissy, I got to share this just because this YouTube, the worst part of this whole experience was we have a schedule. We normally publish videos. And people often advise YouTubers to put 1 or 2 on the shelf just for an occasion like this. And we've always thought it was a good idea. And there's been a few times where we had a few ideas parked on the shelf, but we've never really had videos on the shelf we could slot in. And oh boy, could we have used one, because on, I think it was day 3 or 4 when I was all feverish and there's this pressure to put out a video. And we made a video which was about 12 minutes, and we're not really too happy with it. But I was so sick and I was so worried. We didn't have a script. We needed an idea. And I wasn't sleeping, and we woke up Saturday morning maybe and made a video up here. And I was so weary. And then we had to edit the video, and then we published the video, and we saw it not do too well. And then we had to edit out. We said something on the video we weren't too proud of, and we edited it out. And God only knows what the video looks like now. And the whole experience of having to make that video, like go to work kind of a thing. In hindsight, it was a terrible idea to push forward and make that video. And even this video today, we talked about making this a couple days ago, and I was like, oh, no way, not yet. Well,
I was thinking the other day, maybe I have to put up a Chrissy Tells All video just to make them updated, but I just can't focus of making a video thinking that your partner is down and ill, and you know. So we're here happy to share with you our bad news.
But I'm back, and I'm still doing my consulting calls, and our book is for sale on Amazon. And Chrissy and I want to thank you for watching this and caring enough to see it to the end and hear about our lives and what's going on. And there'll be more to follow. If
you have an experience same as Rob's experience today, or you have a suggestion or advice about his sickness, you can message us at flymetothephilippines@gmail.com. And for those who wanted to consult, ask questions, check the link on the comment section box.
Till next time.
Only here from Fly Me to the Philippines.